The girl was chased to the edge of a cliff by 4 bad guys. With nowhere to escape, Xiao Mei panicked. She thought it was better to fight than to be captured. She gritted her teeth and started to climb the cliff barehanded. 1 bad guy followed her up. The other 3 bad guys were anxious, stamping their feet below. They watched Xiao Mei closely, seeing Chang Ji about to catch up. Xiao Mei was not an easy target. She kicked him down, but Chang Ji was like a cockroach that wouldn't die. In no time, he caught up again. Unexpectedly, he was a creep. He tried to touch Xiao Mei's hook. Xiao Mei couldn't stand that. She kicked him off the cliff again. The crisp sound echoed through the valley. Even through the screen, I felt the pain. Taking advantage of the moment, Xiao Mei kept climbing up. The bad guys below had no choice. They had to carry the injured Chang Ji back to a nearby cabin. They looked for some sanitary pads, and quickly bandaged Chang Ji. They also gave him 2 painkillers. Wang was worried Chang Ji might choke, so he poured him a few sips of expired ergoto from the table. They ignored Chang Ji and hurried off to catch Xiao Mei. Meanwhile, Xiao Mei finally found a small nook to rest. She took a big sip of water from her bag. Then she put on the rubber shoes her boyfriend left for her, and applied some anti-slip powder. Not daring to waste a second, she continued to climb up. The bad guys quickly reached the bottom of the cliff. Watching Xiao Mei climb higher, Wei squinted and said, "Look, half of Xiao Mei's gear has fallen off, and the higher the mountain, the colder it gets. We don't need to go up. He will freeze to death up there." So a few of them discussed, and decided to take a side path to ambush at the top. Meanwhile, Xiao Mei, without any safety gear, miraculously climbed to halfway up the cliff, when suddenly a huge spicy strip appeared in front of her. Xiao Mei was so scared she almost screamed. She hurriedly closed her eyes and took a deep breath, gripping the rock tightly. She didn't dare to move. Luckily the spicy strip crawled by slowly. Xiao Mei finally sighed in relief, but her hand had gone numb from the strain, and it hurt so much, she could barely feel it. She shook her numb hand, leaning against the rock wall, and took out her water bottle for a sip, but accidentally dropped the bottle down. This is terrible. Out of water. Xiao Mei felt she was in a dire situation again. The 3 villains below were laughing hysterically at the scene. They read aloud sweet messages between Xiao Mei and her boyfriend from her phone. They aimed to distract her, making Xiao Mei's face flush with anger. She shouted at them in her native language. Then she applied anti-slip powder and continued climbing. Soon after, Xiao Mei reached a particularly smooth rock wall. There was nowhere to step or grab around her. While she was panicking, she spotted a rope nearby, left by her boyfriend earlier. When they were here before, her boyfriend accidentally slipped while retrieving a lost wedding ring. He fell off the cliff. Xiao Mei tried to reach for it, but there was no one to pass her the rope. She couldn't reach it at all. At this point, she was also hungry, so she bit into her backpack. What a coincidence. She found a piece of wire in there. She fashioned it into a makeshift hook, and carefully tried to snag the rope with it. After several attempts, she succeeded. But then another problem arose. The rope was still out of reach. How do I get across? Xiao Mei glanced down at the bottomless abyss, and felt a chill in her heart. Suddenly, she remembered the climbing tips her boyfriend taught her. Xiao Mei took a deep breath, and followed his methods. She successfully grabbed a hold. Smiling in relief, she agilely climbed up to a small platform. But just then, the bad guys crept up from the side path to the top. Right above her head, Xiao Mei heard their voices, and felt like the sky was falling. Wei shouted loudly, "Xiao Mei, just hand over the camera, and we can forget everything that happened." He then tossed down a rope. Xiao Mei looked at the rope, feeling hesitant inside. Before long, he signaled the others to pull on the rope. Wei said menacingly, "We'll wait right here, and watch you starve and freeze down there." The sky grew darker. Xiao Mei was tired and hungry. With her fingers scraped in several places, she gritted her teeth against the pain. Take the bandage out of the bag. Wrap the injured finger. Find a hook to hang up the tent. She opened the tent. She climbed inside. She could finally rest. But just as she fell asleep,